What's up, Tech fam? Welcome to the BlerdOut, where innovation gets a major upgrade. It's your host, Terrence Southern, and we're flipping the script today on science, technology, engineering, and math. Say goodbye to the snooze fest and wake up. We're bringing the party to STEM. So before we get started, let's put the cam on the kicks real quick. Yes, sir.
Confidence, yeah. It really shouldn't be no arguments, cause you're now viewing the greatest of all time, saying I can't get better.
Today we are honored to have Meka Egwuekwe, co-founder and executive director of CodeCrew, a tech nonprofit revolutionizing STEM education in Memphis. With over 25 years of experience, Meka has impacted over 11,800 students, empowering underrepresented youth to thrive in the tech world. Join us as we share insight on the transformative power of tech education and advocates diversity in this industry. Welcome to BlerdOut, Meka.
Thank you so much.
So, Meka, can you tell me a story about your childhood fascination with programming and what led you to starting CodeCrew, and how has it motivated you for the audience that you serve?
Well, I mean, for my childhood was, I didn't have an intention or even an interest necessarily in computer science. I really asked my mother for a home computer that I could play video games on, right? And but you can imagine, I was 10 years old, Christmas 1983. I was blessed with this Texas Instruments home computer that she worked hard to make happen for me. After playing games on it for about 6 months, I ran out of games, and back then it wasn't connected to the internet, right? And so it came with this book on how to program in a language called BASIC. And I took my name, it's Meka Egwuekwe. It's not a name you would see on TV, but the computer was plugged into the TV back then, right? So right. I said, well, I learned how to program my name to move across the screen. And then I went to my mother and said, hey, my name is on TV, right? And that's kind of like my beginning as getting interested in computer science and software development. And that led to me having great educational opportunities at Andover, Morehouse, and Duke, and then a 19-year career as a software engineer. And what got me into tech education, again, was not necessarily it being planned. It was I saw this great program called Black Girls Code on CNN, and I said I want to sign my daughters up for that. And it was, I reached out to them. They have a chapter-based model. They didn't have a chapter in Memphis. And so I was like, how do we solve that? And they let me lead that chapter, found and lead that chapter for about 2.5 years. And that got the attention of the Memphis Grizzlies, who then convinced myself and 2 other former volunteers to found a new organization to teach coding and computer science to kids around Memphis. And so that's how CodeCrew was born. And we wanted to be more than just a single program at a community center, which is where we were focused with the Grizzlies at first. Yes. So we saw this as a chance to move the needle around computer science education in Memphis and ultimately across the state and beyond. So that's kind of our origin story.
That's an excellent story. I'm motivated. I want to join CodeCrew.
Oh, well, thank you.
So in your experience, how has the hands-on instruction and programming worked well for the students that you serve?
So first of all, we flat out believe in hands-on programming instruction. But even before they're starting with their hands, we're trying to reach their minds, right? So like when we first started teaching kids, it was teaching them how to make mobile apps, and too many in society believe that only white and Asian males can do this, right? All too often, white and Asian males think it's just for white and Asian males, and all too often, those who are not white and Asian males think it's just for white and Asian males. And so the first lesson that we would do with kids was how do they build a very basic app in 90 minutes that is a single button with a picture of Dr. King on it, that when you press this button, says part of one of his speeches. But every kid on the first day walks away having made an app, very basic app, right? But that mind shift, that change in their mind, is what we are looking for, that they start to see themselves as tech producers. And we know that this is not every kid necessarily wants to be a software engineer or a tech producer necessarily, but we don't want kids to self-select out. We want them to make, before they even try it, right? We want them to make an informed decision. And they decide later on, I don't like this, great. They made an informed decision. That's a victory for us, right? But many kids realize, I can do this. This isn't rocket science, and they realize that it's a myth that it's just for white and Asian males. And so them doing it hands-on, for them to see it and make stuff, and they can take it home and show their friends, very important, right? In them sharing the message and them seeing these tangible instances of how they can be producers in tech.
Has there ever been a challenge where it's difficult to keep them engaged with any of the coding? Because, sometimes, in coding, like, we don't always feel like it relates to us, right?
Yeah.
So how do you engage with the students from the programming perspective and making it relatable?
And it is a challenge to keep them engaged, right? I mean, we're competing against a lot of things. Like we started at a community center, the Lester Community Center in the Binghamton part of Memphis. And in that community center, not only did they have a digital lab that the Grizzlies built out for them, but of course, there were great basketball courts and so forth that were invested there. So here we are in this digital lab trying to teach kids how to make mobile apps, and they can hear the ball bouncing in the gym in the next room, right? And so
Right.
so we're like, well, how can we blend coding with basketball, for example, right?
Yes.
So we were teaching kids how to do what we call physical computing, which is they were learning how to program Arduinos, to plug in sensors into those. And so we're like, okay, the challenge for these kids, we're going to break them up into teams, and they're going to each have to design and build an automatic basketball scorer, right?
Ooh,
And then
nice.
we're going to fix those to the rims in the gym, and then we're going to ask Elliot Perry, who is a former University of Memphis basketball player as well as an NBA player, one of the part owners of the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to ask him to come in and be the one to shoot to see who has the most accurate basketball scorer, and that was a competition between these teams. And so when we did this, the director of the community center, Mr. Walter Casey at the time, shut down the whole gym. Said everyone needs to see this, right? And so it allowed us to build, kind of bridge these gaps and show kids that there's more to sports and basketball, for example, than just shooting the ball, right? That in fact, it allowed us to have conversations with them around, think about the NBA without data. Mm-hmm. The NBA is totally data-driven, right?
Yeah,
Think about whether or not there would be an ESPN without data, right? And so there are opportunities for you to blend your love of sports with tech, with your skills in tech. It's not just about necessarily bouncing the ball or catching the ball on the court or in the field. So that's one example. We're always trying to find instances of making it interesting and relevant to them. In all those dimensions and all those facets.
Man, that's so important. I love that.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
that. So could you take some time to explain computational thinking to our audience?
Sure. So computational thinking is basically a modern approach to solving problems that has four basic pillars, right? It is pattern recognition, so being able to recognize patterns. It is decomposition of large problems into smaller ones, right? It is algorithms, or being able to lay out steps and strategies such that a machine can execute them, and it is abstraction and generalization, being able to classify things and pull out the common elements between things, right? So when you think about those fundamental things, all four of those pillars are necessary in order to code something or to build something. Mm-hmm. But it's not just limited to computer science.
Right.
Those things apply across all kinds of subjects, right? Which is why we have seen anecdotally in Memphis and collect data on in Memphis, but what has really been shown nationally, which is that the more kids study computer science and computational thinking, the more it helps their other subjects. Right? And so even those kids who choose not to pursue tech careers or in college or whatever, right? They still get a gain.
Right.
In not just math and science, but even in classes like English and history, right, where you can actually use coding to tell stories from Catcher in the Rye or Raisin in the Sun, mm-hmm. right? Or you can in a history class use coding to tell stories about the Punic Wars and Hannibal crossing the Alps, or you can use computer science even in a PE class to collect data on the sports that you're doing, right? So all those things are part of the well-rounded citizenry that every child deserves to become, right?
Yes.
That's what we want for every child, and so computational thinking is foundational to that.
And these algorithms, they are embedded and created through the minds of the young students that you serve. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah. We every algorithm, every approach that they do to solving a problem is just like even I'll use an English class again, right? It's like you have homework to write an essay, mm-hmm. right? Everyone gets the same prompt to write an essay, but everyone's essay comes back different, right?
Right.
And so same thing when they're building their own algorithms and coding that out to demonstrate it. Each one of them comes back different, mm-hmm. And so it's many people think that there's no creativity in the space, but there's tremendous creativity in them applying their own approaches to solving problems, but just based on those same 4 pillars of computational thinking.
Excellent, excellent. So, CodeCrew has achieved a remarkable 93% of engagement during your time leading this group. Like, what has that experience been like for you, and how are you going to continue moving that needle forward?
Sure. So thank you. 93% of the kids that we serve are Black and/or Latino in Memphis, and so we're proud of that. Again, it's been first of all, I mean, we don't turn away any kids. They're kids, right?
Sure.
But our recruiting focuses on those underrepresented groups, and what's been great about that again is that they're showing themselves, proving to themselves, but also showing the greater community that they can be producers in this space. They can be influencers in this space. We say all the time that we're trying to get coding and computer science and artificial intelligence into the skill sets and the minds of kids and adults such that we can get algorithms on their menus before they're on the menus of the algorithms. That in this increasingly digital world, it's a question of empowerment, that they have to have these skills, again, whether they pursue this for a career or not. And so we're proud of that recruitment focus. We're proud of these kids in terms of what they prove to themselves. We're proud of what they prove to the community as well. And so that has a reinforcing effect when we start changing the face of who can be producers and influencers of tech.
Yeah, you mentioned one of the very popular buzzwords, artificial intelligence. Like,
Sure.
How have the Black and Latino students responded to that word, right? So it's a normal word that you hear, but do they truly know what it means and the awareness of using it?
Sure. So of course, it's a mystery. It can be amorphous to young people when they first see it, right? They don't know what it is, right? But through us exposing them to it, they learn, again, that it's not rocket science, right? It's advanced, but it's not rocket science. And so our hackathon, which we do a large youth hackathon at the end of the summer every year, and so our last hackathon was an AI-based hackathon, right? We gave all the kids a very basic challenge. Use artificial intelligence to improve your community. And so it was a 3-day event, and we exposed them to a number of different AI tools. And some of them actually had, on their own, had kind of studied some of it, excited about it, and so they brought their own tools as well. And in that, they broke up into teams, and we challenged them. They, had a chance to win prizes and so forth, like you would in a hackathon. And the winning team actually used the camera on your device to detect what type of object was in the field of view, and then make recommendations on how best to recycle those objects, right? And so these are high school kids that built this in 3 days. On top of that, they actually entered this into the Congressional App Challenge for our U.S. Congressional District and won, right? And so they're, not only did they get a chance to meet our congressional representative who, spoke with them and asked them lots of questions about what they built, but they actually, their app will be on display at the U.S. Capitol later on this year. So again, these are mostly Black and Latino kids who just need to be connected to the skills and the opportunity, and then they show us and impress us with what they come up with.
Yeah, congratulations to you and to the team of students. That is to be celebrated.
Oh, thank you.
Big time. Thank you so much for sharing that.
We're definitely proud of them. And again, they're showing us what they can do. Right. They just need to be equipped, and and we're just the vessel by which to help them become equipped and make their own statements.
Excellent. Can you tell us about the impact that CodeCrew is having on the youth that you serve and the salaries that they're able to command after they graduate from your program in high school?
Sure. So we have 3 different kind of departments at CodeCrew. We teach kids K through 12. We got teachers we send into schools, teach computer science directly in schools. We do after-school programs. We also train teachers to teach computer science. So that's our second department. Third department is actually we have an adult coding boot camp that trains adults in just under 7 months to become entry-level software engineers. So that is when we think about a short, medium, and long-term play of a better Memphis and a better America, it is how do we train the youngest ones as young as kindergarten, kindergarten, right? That's the long-term play. But that short-term play is taking these mostly 18 to 30-year-olds and training them to become software engineers, right? So they come in averaging, when we see them, if they're making any money at all, they're averaging $12,000 a year, right? 75% of them are college dropouts, right? And so even in a place where the cost of living is as low as it is in Memphis, you cannot live off $12,000, right? So,
Right. Yeah,
and so, but when they come out of the program, they're averaging about $55,000 a year starting salaries, and that they don't all start at just 55. In fact, just yesterday I learned of one of our graduates who's getting a starting salary of 77, right? For example, right? And very quickly they climb from there. We've got several graduates making six figures, and these are all primarily in their 20s. This young lady, I think, is 24, for example, right? Has a child and everything, right? So these are the opportunities in them just getting this. It's an intense boot camp experience, right? But getting these skills, they're able to transform their lives, right? So again, most of them are college dropouts. I can tell you about Autumn Ragland, for example, who was 23 and had dropped out of college and now makes a very comfortable six-figure salary, right, as a software engineer. A third of our graduates are actually working remotely. She lives in Memphis, but works for a New York-based company, so she gets paid New York dollars, but gets to spend it on Memphis living. So, or Maya, who had 3 kids, and when she graduated, she had 3 job offers of at least $50,000, right? She had been on Section 8, right? Before that, right? And so, and even homeless at different times, right? So, and her story is great because not only did she grab it by both hands and have these multiple opportunities, but 2 of her kids were in elementary school, and she decided to take our after-school program into her kids' elementary school and start teaching another 24 kids how to make mobile apps in that school. So, again, just connecting them to opportunities, and it turns into dollars for them, and then they are themselves not only becoming successful software engineers, but oftentimes coming back to mentor and be engaged with our programs and so forth as well.
That is so beautiful, man. You are moving the Memphis audience up the mountain to the mountaintop. That is great.
Oh,
you mentioned something about training. So does the training come with a certification? Is that how they're getting into these jobs that they're being offered?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So we used to do the Microsoft JavaScript certification. Microsoft has discontinued that, right? But we've established our own certifications now, right? So
very good.
So they are. Especially now that we've been around for several years with the adult program, which, we started with kids in 2015, we started with adults in 2018, right? So now that we've built a reputation of what these graduates can do, we're rapidly becoming one of the top producers of black software engineers in our state, in Tennessee, and aim to be one of the top in the country. And so, but they're showing themselves, and we train them in 2 stacks too.
Yes.
So they learn that HTML, CSS, JavaScript MERN stack, right? So Mongo, Express, React, and Node, and then we also train them in the C#.NET stack.
Okay.
We used to do the Python Django stack. It's been hard to find enough instructors to do that, but if we get more momentum, we'll start training them in even more stacks. Right, but every graduate comes out learning at least 2 stacks, and so when they're interviewed, they know their stuff, and the track record of those who came before them is enough to convince employers to give them a shot.
I love it. I love it. I'm speechless, man. You are doing it.
I appreciate it.
So why is it important to have a computer science degree to equip the students to be able to take on these jobs?
So we emphasize that you don't have to have a computer science degree, right? Like those who graduate from our adult program, again, 75% of them are college dropouts. The other ones who have college degrees, they're in unrelated fields like history or theater or music, right? And so we emphasize that to 99% of the work as a software engineer is basically requires algebra, right? And so you don't necessarily have to have a college degree. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of college. I have a college degree, I have a master's degree, right? Yeah. I've got 2 daughters, and I encourage them to get college degrees, right? But it's not necessary, right? So I missed the second part of your question, forgive me.
How has it impacted is it? Well, I think you answered the question. Is it necessary?
Okay.
Right. But attaching to that question about the degree part, but does not having the degree stop them from going into management? You think, or anything? Like, what's your opinion on that?
No, great question. So we do still encourage our students to get college degrees, right? So we emphasize to employers that for the entry-level software engineering jobs that the talent that they desperately need, don't let the four-year degree or any college degree be the barrier for you getting the talent that you need, right? And then let these young people be connected to that. At the same time, we still encourage them long-term to get a college degree because we don't want them to run into ceilings and so forth. In fact, that's one of the reasons why our adult program is actually housed at the local community college. And so every student who comes through our program gets up to 18 hours towards the associate's degree at the local community college. So at least to get them a step towards a college degree that we encourage them to, again, now that they've got resources and money in their pocket, they can do at their own pace without being shut out and being stuck in low wage, minimum wage jobs.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Yep. So can you continue to highlight some of the successful stories? You touched on quite a few already. I mean, and CodeCrew has already made a huge impact. Could you talk about some of the stories that have come from the support that you've received from the Memphis Grizzlies?
Sure. So each one of the students that we serve, kids or adults, have their own great success story, right? So I share with you about Autumn. I share with you about Maya. Ray is another one that who was, I think he was 20 or 21 when he graduated from our adult program, and then worked great as a software engineer, but then actually got the bug to teach. And so now he's actually one of our instructors in our adult program, training up the next generation, right? So lots of stories like that. PJ is another one who graduated from our adult program. He teaches at the middle and high school level for us. He's one of the 5 instructors we send in the schools, right? When I think about Damien, who was he was a computer science major at Lemoyne-on College, the HBCU in Memphis.
Yes.
And a friend recommended him to be a TA for us, and this young man demonstrated just so much bought into the model of mentorship around computer science education that when he graduated, he was the first young person I ever hired straight out of college to become an instructor for us. Before that, we wanted you to have had at least some experience as a professional software engineer. But in his case, he actually kicked in the door for others, right? In fact, now 4 out of the 5 instructors that we have that we send into schools are former TAs that work for us while they're in college, and now are spreading the gospel of computer science education, as I jokingly say, as they go into every classroom. Right? But it's not just education. It is graduates like JP, who's working as a software engineer in Dallas, for example. It is when you look at the kids that we serve, many of them have gone on to major in computer science in college. Madison, for example, is a young lady who I think she started with us in 8th grade. Then her family moved from Memphis to Atlanta, but they would still send her back home to Memphis for in the summer with family, so she could still do our summer programs. And when she finished high school, she came back home to Memphis, now majoring in computer science, working for us as a TA, and even leading some classes, so that she is also lifting as she climbs, as she figures out her pathway in computer science. And when she graduates, she's going to be amazing. So many stories I could go into. I can probably talk about the rest of this podcast. Yeah.
I get it. So with the emphasis on global thinking, with the emphasis on global thinking, how can individuals contribute to the impact that you're making and come support the CodeCrew and what you're doing in Memphis?
Sure. So I say all the time, we need to think globally and act locally, right? And so, you think about, we need to have a world perspective. Dr. King spoke about that all the time, developing a world perspective, recognizing that we're all tied together in an inextricable garment garment of destiny, right? And so we're moved by that, but the place to act is where you are, and establish and develop a model for others to emulate and learn from, right? And when we share with that work, that global perspective, prepares us to work in an interconnected way, such that we can, again, lift as we climb and lift all boats. And so from our perspective, at CodeCrew, myself and my two co-founders, Audrey Willis and Petya Grady, designed the organization that way, to be an example for others to follow. And so as we are increasingly successful, as we have more and more great stories and lots of data demonstrating and showing that this impact is real, we do hope that others emulate us. We hope to have even more connections that we can learn from, and then we encourage people to get onto this train, this bandwagon, if you will, of black and brown boys, girls, men and women being tech producers, more than just consumers of technology, being influencers of technology, developers of computer science in all its aspects, from artificial intelligence to data science. Different ways that people can connect and plug in with us, right? Many people bring both technical and non-technical skills to the table, right? So volunteer opportunities with us for our events, or speaking engagements, or speaking opportunities to our students, be they the kids or the adults. It is obviously, we're a nonprofit organization. We welcome donations, right? Because for any nonprofit, money is the lifeblood of a nonprofit, like it is for a for-profit, right? There is opening your network to connect our students to opportunities. Right? There's so many ways to get involved, and so and I think we all have a part, and as long as we are, again, thinking globally and then acting where we can locally, and as we grow to be a national organization, that locally is going to mean everywhere in this country, right, or even beyond. We hope to be international one day.
Yeah. Well, right now you guys are already making a global impact right there, and with in the local area of Memphis. So I only see it going up from there.
Well, thank you,
Thank you,
definitely. Appreciate it.
So the mission of BlerdOut is to turn our programs into a whole vibe, right? How does the mission of CodeCrew align with the mission of BlerdOut?
Well, when I think about that vibe as you describe it, right? It is a vibe, right? Yeah. It's us trying to make AI and computer science as popular as basketball and hip hop, right? It is about bringing diversity to a space that there really is no legitimate reason why it's not diverse, right? But it's also making sure that we're empowered, right? It's making sure that those self-driving cars, as they identify human beings, or pedestrians in the street or on the sidewalk, recognize black people as people, right, like they recognize the white developers as people, right? It is the again, the just changing the narrative of tech such that it empowers us all. We're all engaged, and not the narrow sense of who can do this work. So, it's numerous ways, but it's a cultural thing, and that's what I love about BlerdOut. The stories are just as important as the work.
That's right.
The stories are work, right? But the stories are just as important as the tech aspects of it, such that we believe. Right? So I can go on and on, but it is. I love BlerdOut, and I love this podcast. I love the momentum that it's bringing and contributing to the narrative, and we want to. Those things are just interconnected in ways that are making tangible differences in real people's lives.
Yeah, and we've always been the trendsetters of not just this country, but the world, right? Mm-hmm. But this is the opportunity for us to lead and get out in front, right? Not play in the background, right? Not dimming our lights, but we want to get out front and say, we did this. This is about our culture. And oh, by the way, we're using technology to move the needle now.
That's right. That's right. It's in its infancy, right?
Yes,
which
sir.
means that's an opportunity for everyone, right? And so let's grab that with both hands.
Yes, sir. I love it. Love it. So what advice do you have for aspiring AI and computer scientists, not just in your local area, but across the globe? Because we're talking about a global impact. So what advice would you give someone who wants to get into those career fields and wants to get started today with CodeCrew?
Sure. I mean, I probably have lots of advice. First of all, is believe you can do it, right? Secondly, understand the power of networks, right? Recognize that even when we go to school, it's not just about what you learn, but it's about who you know, right? So grow your network, because success is when opportunity meets preparation, right? So you want to be educated, be prepared, but the opportunities you don't make for yourself, others bring to you, or God brings them to you, or other people bring them to you, right? It is valuing diversity, right? It is lifting as you climb, which I say all the time. It is, you want to find mentors for yourself, but you also want to be mentors to others. Right?
Yes.
And so it is. So that would be much of my advice. And always stay learning. Technology changes so quickly, so have a continuous learning mindset, right? That a continuous improvement mindset. Any software engineer would tell you about continuous improvement. And so that would be much of my advice, right? So. Be connected. Don't just be hiding in the basement somewhere. And believe you can do it. Get involved. Value diversity. Step into the room and recognize that you deserve to be there. Right. Just step up to the table and recognize that you deserve to be there. Right. You have a voice. Let your voice be heard and shared. Right. So that would be much of my advice to young people. And that might be a lot for them to take in at once. Right. But hopefully they start to recognize and see that the outcomes for them are most positive when they weave those elements together.
Well, we know it's possible because you're already doing it.
Oh, right on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So looking ahead, what are the future goals for CodeCrew, and how you guys see yourself evolving over the next 3 to 5 years? Like, what is the next plan for CodeCrew?
Sure. So the next plan for CodeCrew is, we've already accomplished more than just our work in Memphis. Like I said, we've been successful at the state level, getting bills passed for computer science education, impacting 1 million kids across our state. It is a increasing vision of how can we take what we successfully demonstrated in Memphis and share it with the rest of the country. Our focus in Memphis has been because our largest and fastest growing demographics were the ones most underrepresented in tech.
Yes.
And so the relevant cities of today and tomorrow are the ones that are generating the tech producers and tech influencers. And we ran the risk of irrelevancy, of Memphis being irrelevant, if we didn't focus on those underrepresented groups. But we see that as our gift to the country, though, right? Because we were forced to do that for our relevancy, right? Diversity in tech, and the lack thereof, I should say, is a huge problem nationally. And it keeps, if America does not learn to dig into its bench with respect to generating tech producers, it itself risks becoming less and less relevant, less and less of an influencer and a leader in tech. And so for us, in terms of our plans, is how do we take what we do national, right? So, and that's K through 12, whether that's going to be chapters in different cities or clubs that we help establish around schools and school systems around the country. It is doing more, helping more school districts do strategic planning, like we're doing across 70 school districts in Tennessee right now.
Yes.
It is taking our adult coding boot camp to other cities, especially those that have large Black and Latino populations, but really often overlooked, but kind of underdog places like Memphis. So what about Birmingham or New Orleans or Jackson, Mississippi or St. Louis or Cincinnati, in those places, right? It is taking our teacher training around the country as well, because as more and more states do what Tennessee has done. Tennessee was just the 4th state to make computer science a high school graduation requirement. We were chief advocates for that legislation. We know that all 50 states will eventually do that, right? And so how do we help school districts in state after state after state prepare for the teachers that they need trained such that they can deliver on that requirement, right? So over the next 3 to 5 years, you'll see us evolving into a national organization. Towards the end of 2025, we've already signed a letter of intent to move into what we're billing and advertising as our national headquarters, expanding into a 12,000 square foot space in Memphis. That'll be the home base of where all the magic will happen as we raise our game and increase our impact nationally. So that's what the future looks like over the next 3 to 5 years.
Memphis, you have a gem here. You have a gem right here.
Thank you so much.
And this brother Meka. Make sure we support CodeCrew at all costs moving forward today. I just want to thank you for having this conversation with me. I am really inspired. Last, can you just kind of tell the audience how we can find out more about CodeCrew and where they can follow you?
Sure, absolutely. So you can learn more about CodeCrew by start with our website, code-crew.org. That's codecrew.org. Certainly follow us on social media. On most social media, we are at _CodeCrew on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. We're on all those things. LinkedIn, you can find us. Certainly, if you want to learn more about me as well and my story and how I'm trying to bring more attention to our work through bringing attention to these narratives, you can certainly find me, Meka Egwuekwe, on LinkedIn and different platforms like that. And so YouTube as well, right? You want to see great videos that tell our story, go to our YouTube channel, which is _CodeCrew as well. So reach out to us. We welcome input, volunteers, certainly welcome your donations, and, as we should, because one of the things I've learned as a former software engineer, now executive director, is that the job of an executive director is to do a lot of speaking, writing, and begging. And so with that, we welcome people who believe, who share this vision that's inspired by all the likes from Dr. King to Sojourner Truth and so many others, right, join this movement, if you will, of producing diverse tech skills, tech workforce, tech opportunities, tech influencers. So that's the gospel I preach.
Okay. Well, Meka, thank you again for helping us move the BlerdOut movement forward.
Well,
it's been great talking to you. And remember, for the audience out there, follow the BlerdOut movement. Subscribe, hit the like button, and subscribe to us, and follow us on social media. Thank you.
Confidence, yeah. It really shouldn't be no arguments, 'cause you're now viewing the greatest of all time.